Hey everybody, it's Derek here. We're going to take a look at the news from December 20th to January 2nd, 2022. So as you might imagine, since it was over winter break, so Christmas, New Year's, etc., not a whole lot going on. Pretty much everyone is on holidays, but it is a new year, which means it's also a new month. Therefore, there are new monthly games out. So for PlayStation Plus, we'll be looking at Deep Rock Galactic, which is a cooperative kind of shooter mining kind of thing where you are space dwarves sent out to mine various asteroids and dungeons effectively in space and, you know, upgrade your gear, get better loot, that kind of thing. And you do it with your friends and it's a fun time, allegedly. I don't know, it's free. Check it out for yourself. It's free except you pay a subscription, but whatever. I mean, you paid a subscription for PlayStation Plus, not for Deep Rock Galactic, as far as I'm aware. Anyway, also Persona 5 Strikers, which is a really good brawler game, sequel to Persona 5. So if you've played Persona 5, you want to, you know, hang out with the gang, hang out with the Phantom Thieves again, that's a good shot. You should check that out. And then Dirt 5 is a rally game. it's a racing game. Like, if you have in any way interest in racing, I suppose you should probably check that out. Games with gold. I haven't heard of any of these games, so this should be interesting. So we have Neuro Voider, which is a twin stick shooter. Don't know a whole lot about it. We have Aground, which is a kind of Civ type thing where you build up humanity from, you know, the ashes and get them out into space or whatever. But for some reason, there's also dragons in it, so I don't know what's going on there. Radiant Silvergun, I believe, is actually a port of or not a port, but like a remaster of a very old vertical shooter or a bullet hell shooter kind of thing, Ikaruga type deal. And then Space Invaders is Space Invaders. Do you really need to know anything else about that kind of thing? Probably not. Okay, even though everyone was on holidays and there shouldn't have been any industry bullshit, there was, of course, still some industry bullshit going on because it's this fucking industry. Anyway, Riot Games reaches $100 million settlement in gender discrimination lawsuit that has been dragged out for years. 2018 was when it was originally filed, but it's finally, they've come to a settlement over endemic gender-based discrimination and fostering a men-first environment at Riot. So the agreement breakdown is $80 million to members of the class action lawsuit, and then the remaining $20 million is for attorney's fees and miscellaneous expenses, such as luxury yachts, I guess. Anyway, settlement is currently awaiting court approval, so the court still has to actually approve, but I believe the members of the class action suit have agreed, and Riot Games has agreed, so I think that's more of a rubber stamp kind of thing. This settlement was brought about because of California Department of Fair Employment and Housing. Heard of them before. They're the lads going after Activision as well, so they have been swinging their dick around, basically. And then the rest of that is just statements about, you know, this is good and it's finally settled and so on. One issue with it is that the 80 million, when you break it down, like 1,000 people in the class action suit, like it's only 40k-ish, a bit less than 40k for everybody. So assuming it's an even split, assuming it's not, you know, people who originally filed to get a bigger cut or whatever way they break it down. Not sure I did the maths right there, but it sounds like that's what it is. Is that really enough or something like that? But I guess the bigger deal is that there's also an agreement that the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing will monitor, or rather they'll have a third party monitor pay equity and internal reporting at Riot for 3 years. That's kind of a bigger deal because it's like oversight of a private company, which is not something you typically get. So that is the bigger deal. I mean, obviously the money is good and such, but having dragged that out for so long, it's not really a big enough piece, IMO, anyway. Inside Ubisoft's unprecedented exodus of developers. So Ubisoft's having a good time. It's pretty much hemorrhaging staff right now. There have been a few news stories that I've done on this series with like fairly high profile Ubisoft developers, managers and so on leaving. And as it turns out, in the middle and the lower end of things as well, there's plenty of people moving and leaving there. So Ubisoft employees describe a procession of developers who have departed as the Great Exodus or the Cut Artery. Ubisoft has one of gaming's largest workforces, 20,000 plus employees. Signs of exit are top name talent is leaving, so I've already mentioned a lot of people. Some of this was as a result of the harassment allegations and things, but some of them were just, we don't want to fucking work for Ubisoft anymore because they just make the same game and put a different title on it. They just increment the number. So a bunch of people have left Far Cry 6, it's just come out. A bunch of people have left Assassin's Creed Valhalla, that is still going strong as a game, but tons of their top level, like accredited people, no, they fucked off. Bunch of mid-level and lower-level people have left. Mostly they're going to other development studios in Montreal, which has a pretty big, pretty vibrant development community. Then two current developers tell Axios, who we are looking at here, departures have stalled or slowed projects. One developer recently said a colleague currently at Ubisoft contacted them to solve an issue with the game because no one was still there who knew the system. So they had to contact someone who had left to be like, how does this work? Because they didn't get it documented. You gotta document your shit, people, but more importantly, you gotta make sure they have it documented before they leave, because now they're no longer under contractual obligation to do it. Reasons given for leaving: low pay, competitive opportunities elsewhere, frustration with company's creative direction, with their fucking NFT shit, and the fact that pretty much every Ubisoft game is the same game these days, and also Ubisoft's handling of workplace misconduct, harassment, toxic work culture, all that business. There's something about management and creative scraping by with the bare minimum that really turned me away. It's just one former member of Ubisoft said. So they don't like, basically, that Ubisoft are chasing money instead of chasing like entertainment and like creativity and so on. Other issues being like the harassment thing that's kind of pointed out. Maybe it's later in the article. We'll get to it in a minute. So talking about its attrition rate, Ubisoft's attrition rate is 12%, which is high. Like their spokesperson is like, no, it's fine. No, that's pretty high. That's not good. Allegedly still within industry norms, not really. So Ubisoft's rate is 12, Activision Blizzard's is 16, and that's mostly because of all of the shit that's happening at Activision Blizzard. But other companies, EA's only is 9, Take-Two is 8, Epic Games is 7. So that seems like that's within the norm, really. Like single digit, not double digit. Departing employees talk of generous competing offers. After Montreal, which we mentioned there, that they're one developer is now making triple what they used to make at Ubisoft just by changing jobs, a lateral move. Ubisoft recently offered pay raises. It's a little too late. You're kind of meant to do that before they leave, not when they do. You could have done this at any time. Why are you only doing it now? Also pointing out here in the article is over the summer, 1,000 current and former employees signed a letter saying, fuck off, Eve, and leave the company, please. Paraphrasing, of course. But anyway, one person talking about the abuse and toxicity being contributing factors, but not deciding ones for the majority. However, women and people of color experience them as deciding factors. So, depending on your experience at the company, it may or may not be a contributing factor to you leaving, as one person says. Anyway, one worker who was disappointed with the company's direction that constantly emphasized moving on and looking forward while ignoring the complaints and concerns and cries of their employees. This is somebody who was actually trying to change the company culture, and they were disappointed because Ubisoft don't want to change. They just want to sweep it under the rug, basically. The company's reputation was too much to bear. It's legitimately embarrassing. So Ubisoft's having a good time. Their reputation is not great. Their games are stagnating. Like Far Cry 6 was not well received, despite the scores it might have gotten. A lot of people playing it are like, this is Far Cry 5 again, which was Far Cry 4 again, which was Far Cry 3 again, and so on. Like, there's no real difference. The games themselves don't distinguish themselves. Like, within Ubisoft itself, you can just say it's an Ubisoft game and you already know what you're getting. Rainbow Six, I think, is like their only property that is actually different to the rest of them. Their fucking NFT thing is, super not well received, and they are pushing forward with it regardless. So yeah, wrong decisions being made at the top are filtering down, and it is resulting in people going, well, fuck this shit, I'm out of here. Ready or Not devs no longer working with publisher Team 17. So this is a kind of a congratulations, you played yourself kind of thing. Ready or Not developers yesterday, which would have been 22nd of December, so a while ago now, is no longer working with publisher Team 17. This is allegedly as a result of a Twitter interaction with a potential customer or something. December 20 response to the question if the game should have a school shooting mission. Void Interactive developer replied, you better believe it's going to, or it's gonna. 1 hour later, the studio then announced the end of its partnership with publisher Team 17, hours after that level. Okay, maybe more than 1 hour after that level confirmation on Twitter. Good job. You absolute dumbasses. Played yourself. Yeah, they lost their publishing agreement because of, obviously, Team 17 do not want to have anything to do with school shooting in video games. That's a big no-no, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. But yeah, they've lost their publishing agreement. They'll probably have to self-publish it now. They are still currently on Steam Early Access. As far as I'm aware, you are responsible for publishing on Early Access as much as in publishing. It would only be after that when it would actually enter like retail, like the Steam store proper, or the Epic Games, or maybe it ends up on console or whatever like that. But yeah, they've lost that partnership now. Fucking idiots. Okay, well, there was a lot of dumb stuff, but there was some dumb stuff too. On the I don't know where I'm going with that. I'm just going to keep going. Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker players mourn blocky grapes. So this is the reason it's in dumb stuff is because this is fucking stupid. So anyway, there is a extremely low poly model of grapes in the Final Fantasy XIV MMO. Has been there for a little while. It was there at patch 6, which is Endwalker, and then was patched out in 6.01. And people were like, no, our shitty grapes, bring them back. It was just kind of funny. There were a lot of like these kind of funny images of RIP grapes. They've been made a little rounder now, and people are like, no, bring back the shit grapes. Press F to pay respects for the shit grapes, and so on. Grape Walker. And even the official Final Fantasy XIV account, we will miss you, grapes. You were truly remarkable. So it's just fucking stupid. People going rallying around a shitty low poly model. Obviously there because it's a big MMO, it's network intensive, they don't necessarily need to put a whole lot of effort into assets that you're gonna breeze by in like 2 seconds, so why bother? An LOD thing, more than likely, and they just updated it because it's a little too low poly, so they gave it a couple more. But kind of funnily enough, this exact model is still there in like one of the very first areas of the game. There's another winery that has this grape model, and that one hasn't been updated. That's still there. So I don't know. Some grapes are more worthy than others, I guess. Anyway, that was the news for 20th of December to the 2nd of January 2022. Like I said, nothing really happened over the weekend, or over the break, rather, the 2-week break here. 3 week? I can't count. I'm not going to bother counting. It's a while anyway. 2 weeks. Yeah, as I said on our last video for this series, not a whole lot was going to be happening over the break, and I was right. Nothing really did. Some stuff on the channel for myself. I have decided on the games for July. I have had enough time to play The World Ends With You to get a pretty good idea of how it works. I was worried that I wouldn't because it's a giant game. But it's fairly front-loaded, so I did get a good bit of stuff, good bit of game time with that. So that will be in the games of July. Necromunda Hired Gun, which is a Warhammer 40k Doom game, more or less. It's pretty fun, honestly. Jank as fuck, but it's pretty fun. And we have Last Stop, which is a TV show as a video game, basically. There's not a whole lot of game to it. It's interesting, but yeah, there's not a whole lot of gameplay exactly. And then Where the Heart Leads is kind of interesting. I thought it was it is still kind of a choose your own adventure, but just the way it is framed is kind of strange. It's more like a reminiscing or a potentially Groundhog Day kind of thing. I'm not too far into it, so we'll have to see how that goes. But it is you're separated from your family and you are reminiscing about how you got here, basically, and making decisions, and it's a question then of how your life plays out from there, I guess, even though it already has played out because you're reminiscing. That's why I don't really get, am I actually changing things or something else? I guess you'd have to play through it to find out, and that's the plan at the games for July. I am planning to do more streams, and I am thinking that the Foley Plays game, insert game title here, for a bit will probably turn into live streams instead of recorded things, because I pretty much do them as live streams anyway. I know I said this on the series before, but I have working on it. I do need to get a couple more things for the setup. I'll probably continue on with this camera and just deal with the fact that the microphone will probably be in the way, because I'll be like this when I'm playing it. The game screen is there, but whatever. We'll put up with it until I can get either an extension on the cable or a new camera. And I'll have to figure out how to isolate the audio from the game so that I can hear the game at its proper volume and I can adjust it for you guys, because I don't want to be blowing your eardrums out and then also having to shout over it at the same time. So there's stuff I need to check, and then, you know, I just need to get my head into it and decide what I want to do with the streaming. But that's the idea. That will be the plan going forward. LPs will probably still be pre-recorded things. Anyway, thanks for watching. I assume there will be some actual news next week, hopefully. Anyway, check out any other videos on the channel and keep an eye out for live streams and that kind of thing going forward. And I'll see you next time.